Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining. As you all know, I'm Samino, and I'm with my colleague Anisha, and we are here today to really begin the process of identifying or giving each of you an opportunity to first and foremost know exactly what we're looking for in a backbone and an anchor. And we invite each of you who are interested and feel that you would like to serve in that capacity to submit a proposal. And why don't I just dive right in? So again, thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation today. And the first thing I'll do is get myself situated and talk a little about what is a backbone. So the backbone is not one single entity, but a set of functions that one or more entities can play a role in fulfilling. And these functions are the essential ongoing roles related to sustaining our infrastructure of our cradle to career partnership. Now that differs a bit from the anchor. The anchor is a part of the backbone, but the primary function of the anchor is to serve as the fiscal agent and ensure the partnership's long-term sustainability. A fiscal agent provides limited financial and legal oversight, such as overseeing pass-through funds and budgeting for the partnership. Again, the main differentiator between an anchor entity and a backbone partner is the fiscal agent role. Since the partnership will require financial support from both its operations and data-driven action, selecting an anchor to play this fiscal agent role is extremely important. And as you know, for the last 3.5 years, Oakland University has served in this capacity. This is a list of the typical functions of the backbone. Again, starts with the anchor. Also, another backbone function is to house the partnership. Staffing, which we pretty much have taken care of that ourselves in some instances. In some partnerships, the staff is lended to the organization by another entity, but that differs a bit in our situation. Another role is to engage partners and the community. And again, I'm joined with my colleague, Anisha Hanna, and we primarily serve that function internally. Communications is another part, and that has been served through a consultant agency called Griggs Communication. They've done a phenomenal job, but perhaps one of you can provide the support that we need from communications, which involves our website, our annual reports, our social media communications to the public, and anything that would fall under that umbrella is what we're looking for from a communications perspective. And in addition, another backbone function is fundraising and development. And we've started some of that ourselves, but we do need someone skilled in that particular area or an entity who already has that backbone function, who can also add PCIP to that support. And the next area would be data support. Similar to Anisha, we've added Cal Talley, who serves as our director of our data hub. We're also in communications with Data-Driven Detroit to support the maintenance of our data dashboard. So that's an area where we have in-house, but we do reach out to some consulting to uplift that work, and again, particularly around our data dashboard. Convening networks is another area that's typical of a backbone function, and advocacy and policy change is another. And what we're looking for with respect to advocacy and policy change are policies that support each of our cradle to career indicators and outcomes that we work on. And the next few slides just really provides an overall definition of the backbone function roles. And I won't read through all of them because this is a copy that you can kind of go through on your own. But again, just really delineating what the expectations are for each of those functions. And as it relates to staffing, these are the key staff that make up most of the 70 backbone partnerships in the Strive Together model. We have essentially each of them, with the exception of communications. Again, we do consult or have a consultant who does our communications. And that's a big one. It does become costly, and we certainly would welcome one of our backbone partners who have the capacity to take on that role and responsibility, or at least assist us in that area. Engage partners in the community, fund development, communications, which I talked quite a bit about, data support, convening partners, advocacy, and policy change. Now, this talks a little bit more about how the roles are filled. So initially, we started out with a centralized backbone, meaning Oakland University was tapped to provide each of the backbone roles. They have, over time, primarily filled the role of the fiduciary. And I've talked about that process. And right now, I think most of you know that we're housed as an example of a role within that backbone at Michigan Works, and we've been here for the last 2 years. And shout out to Jennifer Llewellyn, who has provided us free office space for the last 2 years. But as we've grown, we've gone from 2 to 4 staff, and we do need either to work through with them an opportunity to have additional office space for those additional staff members, or we need to really begin to look out to some of you who can provide office space for each of us, because it really is important that now we begin to make sure that all of us are housed in the same location, just so we can add greater synergy, build greater capacity, and just work more collaboratively together. So the 2 examples are centralized backbone, blended backbone, which is what we are really looking for. There are some benefits of that that I think really make it ideal for us to get greater buy-in in the community by having multiple partners in the community that fulfill different roles. And so we're excited about the potential of the proposals that you'll submit, and we look forward to going through that process. And going back to the anchor entities, there are various types. Of course, the first one starting at universities, which is the approach that we have taken thus far. United Ways also have a tendency to serve in that capacity. Community foundations, government organizations, existing nonprofits, and new nonprofits. And you'll see here some of the pros and cons associated with having either one of those entities serve as your anchor institution. And so I'll let you kind of go through the pros and cons, but I wanted to make sure that Anisha and I included that in this presentation so that you would have something to think through. Also, just a bit more around the role of the anchor entity. I mentioned again, the essential role of the anchor is to serve as the fiscal agent. And when staff are co-located and funded by the same organization, coordination of operations can be much more efficient than if partnership staff reported to many different organizations and were not centrally located. So ideally, we would love to be centrally located within the anchor institution. However, as that is not currently the case, we do have some comfort level in operating outside of that. but just wanted to make sure that each of you were familiar with the role of the anchor entity. And so I talked a little about having a blended backbone. And blended backbones may arise out of a desire for multiple organizations to play a strong role in the partnership's backbone. And that is really my thinking beyond or for having a blended backbone, because we want to make sure that each of our backbone partners feel a sense of accountability and ownership for the work that is we're charged with getting done. And the blended backbone approach helps communities navigate ownership issues by identifying roles for multiple organizations to support the partnership and demonstrate their commitment to the partnership. So guidelines for the backbone and anchor proposal. And with that, I'll turn to Anisha, who will walk us through that process. Or should I say Dr. Hannah?
Thank you, Dr. Scott. I am happy to share with you today the threshold consideration. These are the items that will be needed and required for submission. So we will be looking for you to provide legal name, tax ID, address, phone number, website of your organization. We'll also need a primary contact for the specific application, whether it's the CEO, the president, or executive director. We'll also need for you to provide evidence of your 501c3, your most recent audit or financial review, a current list of your board of trustees or your directors. Submit also mission, a brief background or current programming of the applicant, and also a written statement indicating whether your firm currently or proposed employees are or have been in the past 5 years under any investigations or review by the government authority or any similar agencies. And if there are any investigations or review, we will need a detailed information regarding that process. Samino, if you can go to the next screen, please.
Here you go.
Thank you. And here's the criteria for selection. This will points will be awarded, as you'll see here, but there's a maximum of 40 points with an opportunity for an additional 10 points. But for this particular selection criteria, we will be awarding 5 points for specialized experiences, 5 points for neutrality, 10 points for records of implementation ability, 10 points for quality of performance history, 5 points for Pontiac experience and knowledge, which is very important. And again, 5 points for flexibility and creativity. So here is a maximum of 40 points. And on the next slide, I'll share how organizations could be awarded additional 10 points. So for those organizations that are able to, the expenses for requested funds, for example, we would need a budget that reflects the line items to include a fiscal agent fee, HR, administration, which could be office space, IT, communications, etc., and any partnership needs mentioned in the proposal. So to provide these things, an additional 10 points will be added. But please note that the request for funds does not include the executive director position nor any other staff of the ED's team. Next screen. So here's a definition for the criteria selection. I will not read each one of these for you. We will email you a copy of this so that you can review it once you go back and look at the presentation. Samino? Okay, and supplemental materials that will be needed with your submission. These documents are additional information for consideration. You will not be scored for these documents, but we will need 2 references speaking to one or more of the functions that you intend to provide, as well as a letter of support. Questions and answers. So some of the questions that are often asked when we talk about backbone and anchor entities is, does one organization serve all roles of the backbone? And the answer is multiple organizations can fulfill the roles of the backbone. However, we do only need one organization to serve in the capacity of our anchor. Next question is, how long is the term of agreement for the backbone and the anchor? We anticipate a new RFP process every 4 years, and existing organizations can reapply. What is the difference between a backbone and an anchor? The backbone consists of all the roles necessary for the organization to function effectively, and the primary role of the anchor is to serve as the fiscal sponsor. What is the deadline for submission of the proposal? May 31st, 2024 by 5 p.m. is the deadline to submit your proposal. When will applicants be notified of the final decision? The selection committee will make all final selections and notify backbone anchor partners by June 15, 2024. What is the deadline for submission of the proposal? Again, that is May 31st, 2024 by 5 p.m. All right. If there are any questions, feel free to please email Samino, Dr. Scott, or myself, or send an email or feel free to email either of us if there are any questions regarding this presentation. Back to you, Samino.
Well, thank you, Anisha, and thank all of you who are considering serving in that capacity for PCIP. We certainly want to be open to any and all organizations in the city of Pontiac that particularly our executive council members who have been at this work now for 4 years. We really want you to have the opportunity to lean in to support the work that we do in a more intentional way. And certainly if you have, as Anisha indicated, have additional questions, feel free to reach out to either one of us. We will begin the process of assembling the selection committee once we determine the number of potential proposals that we'll receive. And in addition to that, I just want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable following up with any questions that perhaps we didn't address in our frequently asked questions. You'll have a copy of this recording, and we are excited about reading your proposals and seeing who we'll be working with in a more intentional way. And with that, Anisha, unless I've missed anything else, that is the
think you're good.
Okay, so we'll conclude here, and let me stop the recording.